We have looked at implied meaning in everyday texts and in everyday speech. Today we're going to look at the way poets use implied meaning to create a certain tone or a certain meaning that they wish to convey to the reader. We're going to illustrate this by means of a poem written by William Shakespeare, My Mistress' Eyes Are Nothing Like the Sun, which is sonnet 130, quite a well-known one, in which it appears as if he is belittling his mistress, he is insulting his mistress, but then eventually we see how through implication it becomes an extraordinary compliment to the lady. He starts his poem off in the first stanza by saying, My mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun. If hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. So he's saying his mistress' eyes are not bright and sparkly. They are nothing like the sun. Her lips are not red. They aren't even close to the color of coral. It's much lighter and colorless. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun. He talks about her breasts as being dun, not white and pure as snow, but a grayish brown color, which is not very attractive, perhaps. And he then says that her hair resembles wires. He goes on in the second stanza by saying, I've seen roses damasked, red and white, but no such roses see I in her cheeks, and in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. What he's saying is there is no red, pinkish flush in her cheeks. It's quite dull. And he then goes on to even say, to condemn her breath, and he says that her breath reeks. So, sounds pretty much like insults to me. So then he goes on in the third stanza and he says, I love to hear her speak, yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. So her voice is not very musical. I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. So he says she's nothing like the goddesses that are often described in poems. She is a person who treads on the ground. But then he gets to the rhyming couplet, and that is where Shakespeare now clenches his argument in three parts. He has said his mistress is not such a wonderful person. She's actually very ordinary and perhaps a bit ugly in ways. But he says in the rhyming couplet, and yet by heaven. Note how he says by heaven. I think my love as rare as any she belied with false compare. So what he is saying is that people normally compare their loved ones or their beloveds, their mistresses, with things that are false. I mean, if you want to compare your mistress's eyes with the sun, then really it's quite a ludicrous comparison, isn't it? So I'm not comparing my lady with things that are unattainable, that are false. I am just saying I love her. I think my love is extremely rare. In other words, I love her greatly. So can you see how this whole thing is turned around through the implication that these things that he have said about his mistress are just said because he wants to imply that she's not a false person, she's a real person. So what he's actually saying is he will not belie his mistress. He's not going to say that she is, which she isn't. And he loves her greatly, not because she is an unattainable beauty. He loves her for who she is. He loves her for the real person that she is. So the implication through this insulting poem is that he loves her greatly for the person that she is. She's a real person. Now, what Shakespeare actually does in this poem is he mocks the Elizabethan tradition of love poetry, where the mistress is elevated to a near unachievable plane. She is so perfect that she is well nigh a goddess. So they make ridiculous comparisons to describe the mistress, like the lips are, roses, and the cheeks are cherries, and the peaches, and the sun, and they make these ridiculous comparisons. And then the mortal woman that's actually the beloved, the mistress, is elevated to such a stage or such a phase that she is almost a goddess. She has goddess status. But what does a poetic speaker do in Sonnet 130? He brings her down, he exaggerates her shortcomings, and by that he implies through the contrast and the exaggeration, the emphasis, how extremely special she is to him.